Hello! Today we are playing My Summer Car. You might have heard of this game before, but most likely haven't. In this fantastic world of My Summer Car, we have been left home alone and left to your own resources. I might also mention that it's set in rural Finland during the 1990s, so every bit of non-necessary text will be in Finnish. There isn't a tutorial in this game, not even a pop-up telling you the controls. It's just you and the endless opportunities. So why don't we get started? Alright, so now let's play. Press new game. What should our first name be? Frostbitten. Driver. Amazing name. Think this was removed. I don't know. Alright, now we're in the world of the game of My Summer Car. So on the map, around here is our house. Up here's the town. And around here is the repair shop. We've got a little food in the fridge and a case of beer. Outside we have the Satsuma, the car that we will be building throughout most of this game. And in the garage, all its parts. Now, for what I'm thinking is to make building the Satsuma more fun, I'm gonna try and explain what all the parts do while I'm explaining, like while I'm building. So I'll probably cut out most of the building, I don't know. Here's our motorbike. Back there, we have our uncle's house. Now, our uncle has a van which we can loan, and then we can drive that around. Because even though we have a moped, it can only carry one thing, and it's not that great. Right here, we can open this, take the money. And if we run all the way over here, we will see a trailer and the tractor. For most of the early game, we are going to be using the tractor for our transport. While the tractor can carry more than one thing, it is quite slow. I'll just be moving it to the house now. This game is best played with an Xbox controller, which is what I'm using now, but it is possible to use the keyboard and mouse. Our tractor also has a radio, which will keep us kinda entertained for most of our journeys. And while most people immediately go to the shop and get the wheels, I'll probably just build a suspension for the Satsuma. So we can get our subframe. And actually, we'll just move the case of beer outside for ease of use. Trail arms. Here. Drum brakes. I bet in real life throwing these things over to where you need them wouldn't be the safest thing, but it works. Shock absorbers. Struts. Now, I have played this game a little bit, so I know what to do for most things. The spindles. I'm planning on making this a series, but most of the series that I do, usually I don't really do too many episodes, but I'm hoping I can do more for this. Actually, these coil springs go in the back, not in the front. So we'll start in the back. It's much easier. Those are happy noises. Car makes those when it's happy. Alright, and one last thing I almost forgot is the spanner set. I will be replacing this with the ratchet set hopefully very soon, because I do not like it at all. Let's start with the trailing arms. What these do is they keep everything in place and have a pivot point for the suspension. These usually have to be quite strong because they're the main part of the rear suspension. Next is the coil springs. These apply pressure to the trailing arm, as you saw, to like put it down and apply pressure so it softens bumps. The thing I just put in there was the shock absorbers, if I'm correct. They are filled with a fluid that is pretty easily compressed, so when you go over big bumps, they make it slightly smoother. And then the drum brakes. These are actually quite interesting, the drum brakes. They have two different things to them. The drum, which is the thing that you can see there, and then the brake pads on the inside. So the brake pads, when you press the brake pedal, a fluid that is quite hard to compress. You'll feel it if you've ever driven a car. It's quite hard to compress. So it moves through some very small pipes and it tightens these brake pads against, usually it's a disc, but in an older car like this it's a drum, so it creates friction and slows the car down. Where's the brake drum for here? Oh, it's over here. At the moment, that's the rear suspension, pretty explained. I'm just putting in the final screws. So another thing about this game is every part has their own screw. Well, almost every part has their own screw. And each screw has their own size. I remember some of them, but not all, so the main problem with building, say, the engine will be that I won't remember all the screw sizes and I'll have to be going through all of them. And that is the rear suspension practically done, except for the tires, which I'll explain why that's a problem in a second. Take care of our thirst here. Next is the front suspension. As you can see from the sheer amount of parts that are on the ground beside me here, it is quite complicated. So first we'll move the car jack front of the car. And there we go. And a little further. Again, those are just happy noises. The car is happy. So, the subframe is a big lump of metal that holds everything together, kind of like the trail arms, except this time it does not have a pivot point. It is simply here to hold everything nice and tight, including the engine. There are 4 screws here, size 10. Then the wishbones, say, as the name suggests, are shaped like a wishbone out of like a turkey or something, and what they do is they just create a pivot point and hold in the spindles. So here's the spindles, and well, there's only one size 12 screw holding it in, and what it does is it holds the brake pads and calipers as well as, well, everything else. The brake discs are, like I explained earlier, the brake pads. When you press the brake pedal, they push against the brake discs, which creates friction that slows down the car. Next is the front. What is it again? Just front springs in general. They're like, right, they're called struts. So the front struts are like they work like shock absorbers and coil springs together. So you'll see the pipe in the middle acts like the shock absorber, and then the spring that goes around it acts like the coil spring. They just do their job individually and do the same thing as the coil springs and shock absorbers. What I'm installing here is the steering rack. It connects to the steering column, which connects to the steering wheel, and it turns the rotational energy from the steering wheel into lateral energy that goes into the steering rods. Actually, I'm gonna just check if I missed something there. Nope. You definitely do not want to miss tightening any bolts, even by a single step, because there's a small chance that the part might fall off. Next is the steering rod. This connects to like the strut and the steering rack. So what it does is just connects those two and makes the wheels turn. Now we will have to align it so it's not all skewed, and we can do that a little bit now, but we'll mostly have to do that when the tires are put on, because it'll make it a lot easier. Just doing the rough wheel alignment now. I'd say that's fairly aligned. A little further. And then we just screw in the size 14 in the middle. So you might have noticed the spanner, it's really slow at putting things in, like screwing things in. So that is why we will be using the ratchet set for most of the game. But the ratchet set we will have to buy in the parts catalog, along with another thing that I'll explain later. So what the ratchet set is simply a set of ratchets, which is a tool that acts kind of like a spanner, but you know how you have to reset the spanner, like how you're holding it every time you want to screw in a bolt? You don't with the ratchet set. You just like put in the bolt and you can tighten it really fast with the ratchet set. And when I first got the ratchet set, I didn't know how to use it. I didn't know you had to press F to switch directions, so I thought my game was just broken. And actually, I almost missed a few bolts at the top here that we have to screw in. You can just barely reach over there. Alright, and oh wait, one more thing. Actually, two more things. Aw, come on. Disc brake and steering rod. That's in backwards. Still does it. I think that's actually just aligned straight away. Could be. Well, that's the suspension done for now. Alright, so for now, I think that's enough in this episode that we've done, because it's already 21 minutes and I didn't even realize. In the next episode, we'll probably go to town, do some things there. Alright, I hope you enjoyed. Bye.